welcome back to episode 4 of the second season of the Daniel Smith Colour Showdown. This episode was again voted by my dear patrons. One of the perks of being my patron is that you get to have a say in what content goes on this channel, and in this particular example, the patrons got to have a vote on what colours got into season 2. And the voting right goes to everyone that pledges for $1 or more. So that is everyone that it becomes my Patreons, which is great because I love to hear about what you like to see on this channel. So this was the second episode that the patrons voted for. This was the second most popular choice, and that is to compare Rare Green Earth with Terra Vert by Daniel Smith, and this comparison was suggested by Eve from Eve Bolt, who you know is a dear friend of mine as well, and so thank you very much, Eve, for suggesting this comparison. It was very popular with my Patreons. So Rare Green Earth versus Terra Vert. Terra Vert, of course, being just French for green earth as well. Another name it's known for is Verona Green as well, and Rare Green Earth is a very old pigment. It was used by the Romans. You can see examples of rare green earth on the walls of Pompeii. It's that old. And you can get rare green earth from England, France, Cyprus, Germany, and Verona in Italy. And I love making paints with the rare green earth pigments as well. So this comparison will be a fantastic look at this very ancient pigment. Now, rare green earth, this one, is a mixture of what Daniel Smith calls natural iron oxides, and Terra Vert is actually a mixture of two pigments. PG18 is the Viridian, and PBR7 is commonly used in colours like burnt sienna. Now, these two paints do not have as big a price difference as my previous episode on the Pyro Red and the Permanent Red, but there is a price difference. Rare Green Earth is Series 2 and Terra Vert is a Series 1, which makes it about £1.18 or about $2 US of price difference between these two colours, and that is a price from Jackson's UK, which is where I get my paints from. So let's take a closer look at these two paints individually, and then we'll come back and compare the two. Next up is Rare Green Earth. It is made out of a mixture of natural iron oxides. Daniel Smith says a medium grey-green in mass tone and in washes. With the slightest hint of blue, it suggests the hue of distant evergreens. It's good for atmospheric shadows too. Try mixing Rare Green Earth with Rhodonite Genuine to make luscious, reticulating soft purples. It is a Series 2 colour. It is classified as excellent in light fastness, transparent, non-staining and granulating. Next up is Terra Vert. Now this is a mixture of two pigments. One is the PG18, which is hydrous chromium sesqui oxide, which is your basic Viridian, and the second pigment being PBR7, which is the natural iron oxide, and PBR7 is usually found in colours like a burnt sienna, raw umber, raw sienna. So it's basically a mixture of Viridian and burnt sienna. Daniel Smith says Terra Vert, roughly translated as green earth, is a classic green that has been used by artists since antiquity. Transparent and non-staining, Terra Vert is a light-fast formula of Viridian and raw umber, used with undersea green and raw umber violet for natural-looking landscapes. Terra Vert is a slightly granular earthy green, leaning towards teal. Easy to handle, easy to look at. It is a Series 1 colour, excellent in light fastness, transparent, non-staining and granulating. Welcome back. The paints have dried. This side is the Rare Green Earth and this side is the Terra Vert. Now, For the first time this season, we actually have a comparison where there is quite a significant difference in the paint's hues. And we can see that the rare green earth is a much more muted green than the Terra Vert. Terra Vert, thanks to the viridian in its mixture, is a much brighter green than the rare green earth. So let's take a closer look at each of the tests that we did for these two colors and compare the two colors together. In terms of the washes, this side is rare green earth and this side is Terra Vert. As you can see, they are both beautifully granulating colors. However, I do see that the rare green earth granulates a lot more than the Terra Vert does. Terra Vert's granulation is a little bit finer, whereas with the rare green earth, you can definitely see the texture of the cold press paper underneath. They are both very easy colors to create the gradated washes with. One thing to note though is that with the Terra Vert, you can see that the color is a lot more prone to cauliflowering than the rare green earth is. You do not get cauliflowering happening on the rare green earth as much, nowhere near as much as the Terra Vert. And in fact, it's actually quite hard to get a cauliflowering on the rare green earth. So if you are looking for a muted green and you want to do a big wash with it and you want to have as minimal chance of getting cauliflowering as possible, then I recommend using the rare green earth rather than the Terra Vert. In terms of opacity, lifting and glazing, up here is the rare green earth and down here is the Terra Vert. Opacity wise, I would say that they are indeed both transparent colors. I don't see much, if at all, or any deposit over the black lime. Now, the very exciting and interesting thing happened when I did the lifting testing. As I've explained before, I always do a standard test of 3 swipes with a clean wet brush, pat it dry with a tissue, and I repeat that process 3 times. And I did that with the rare green earth. However, with the Terra Vert, I actually stopped after doing the brushing with the clean brush and patting it with the tissue twice, not 3 times, because all the paint was gone. And this is the first time where all the paint went after the second round of lifting, rather than going all the way to the third round of doing the lifting test. And this little patch happened when there was a drop of water that went onto this patch and it got patted dry just the once, which means this is how much paint that comes off after just 1 try, and this is after 2 tries. So it is incredibly easy to lift. The Terra Vert is the most lifting, non-staining, easy to lift color we have ever tested in these series. And then I would actually say that the rare green earth is the second most lifting color, but as you can see, there is still some color and pigment left on the paper, whereas there's just nothing here at all. So very easy paint to lift. In terms of the glazing, I was a little bit worried about how these two colors will glaze, because of course the easier the lifting, the more difficulty you tend to have with glazing. So I was expecting it to be even harder than the Ultramarine Blues and the French Ultramarine that we tested in episode 2. However, it's not bad. You can definitely glaze with them and you won't get any more difficulty than you would get with the Ultramarine Blues. I would even argue that it's slightly easier to glaze than the Ultramarine Blues. So that was a really interesting result. In terms of gauzing, because they are granulating, and we do know that there is a tendency for granulating colours to gauze really well and produce linear patterns. Indeed, you do get very strong linear patterns happening. Linear patterns that are actually darker than what you get with a mass tone of the paint just straight out the tube with very minimal amount of water. with the rare green earth, you do get just a one hue of color, and with varying intensity between the background and the lines that are produced by the gauze. With the Terra Vert, you do get a two-tone effect of different hues between the background and the lines that are produced, and you can see the viridian coming through on the gauze, so it's a much more green color than the background, which is a combination of the viridian and the burnt sienna. In terms of salting, neither really react much to either of them. You can just about see where the salt crystals were, but none of those lovely feathering that we saw, say, in like the previous episode with the Pyrrole Red. In terms of water blooms, you don't get much, especially with the rare green earth. You do get a better, more feathered look with the Terra Vert though. Now let's take a look at how these two colours mix with other colours. This side is rare green earth and this side is Terra Vert. For reference, these are the 12 colours we mixed the two colours with. So here you can see how the rare green earth mixes with these colours over here. And this side is how Terra Vert mixes with these colours. As you can see, the resultant mixes are much lighter colours than the colours the two colours was mixed with, and that was done on purpose. Both of these colours have very low tinting strength, and if I didn't reduce the amount of the mixing colours I added to these two colours, then we would have just ended up with two charts that just looked like this, because it's so easy to overpower these two colours. So what I did instead was to reduce the amount of colours I mixed with these two colours, so you get this lovely gorgeous soft palette of very clear and very soft, slightly muted colours instead, so that you can see the effects of these two colours on the mixing colours rather than just the mixing colours themselves. Either of these two paints will be amazing to use as a mother colour to a palette when you are looking for a softer, little bit muted kind of colours. In terms of the difference between the two colour mixes, for two colours that are different in hue, the mixes are very similar. Of course, with the Terra Vert being the little bit more brighter green one, you do get a slightly brighter mixes. However, because neither of these colours have a high tinting strength, the difference isn't that pronounced. You do also get a lovely fresh green that granulates with the cadmium yellow lights, or more neutralized colours up here. I do think that you get a prettier colour mixes with the Terra Vert than the red green earth. However, again, the differences are very slight indeed. So I don't think the colour mixes are the deciding factor in choosing between these two colours. In conclusion, the two colours are different in hue. The red green earth is the more muted green and the Terra Vert is the brighter green. They both granulate, however the red green earth granulates more, and it also does better at doing washes. So if you are looking for a paint of around about either of these hues and you don't mind which particular hue, but you want to have a easier job creating washes that are smooth and without cauliflowering, then it is definitely worth paying that little bit more, and the price difference isn't that much for the rare green earth, because you are going to have so much easier time making washes with the rare green earth. However, if you are looking for that slightly brighter green, then the Terra Vert is a better option. Just bear in mind that you might have more problems creating the washes. Bearing in mind that both of these colours are very easy to lift. almost, I'd say, too easy to lift. And in particular, the Terra Vert is incredibly easy to lift. Now, because the color mixes that these two colors produce and everything else is pretty similar in behavior, I would say that the main decision-making points are the following. First is the price points. However, the price difference is very minimal indeed. Second is whether you are looking for a heavily granulating color or a lighter granulating color. A third point is whether you are looking at an easier time for doing big washes with the red green earth as opposed to the Terra Vert, which is prone to cauliflowering. Fourth and final thing is if you are into doing the glazing, then with the red green earth you are going to get the monotone, just one same hue evenly with just a difference in the value of the colors, whereas with the Terra Vert you are going to get a two-tone effect. As for me, if I had to choose between these two, I think I would go for the red green earth rather than the Terra Vert, even though it's a little bit more expensive, just because I know that I am going to have a much easier time making washes and even layers of color than the Terra Vert. And also I am slightly scared of how easily the Terra Vert lifts as well. It is the most lifting, the least staining color I've ever used, and I tend to feel comfortable around the very heavily staining transparent colors. So between these two colors, I think I will have a easier time getting to grips with the red green earth than the Terra Vert. Which one would you go for? Would you go for the red green earth or the Terra Vert? Do let me know in the comments down below. If you have either of these colors on your palette, then please do let us know in the comments down below on how you use these colors and what you find it most useful for. If this video is interesting to you, then please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, then please do so. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye!